Hello, everyone, and welcome to Candid Conversations with Rennu Dhillon, a Building Women Empowered initiative, empowering women everywhere. What is candid conversation? Well, let's begin with the word candid. Candid means honest, truthful, straightforward, and frank. What does conversation mean? Conversation means when two or more people get together and exchange ideas and stories. And when you bring those two together, you get Candid Conversations with Rennu Dhillon. That's me. Every woman has a unique life experience to share, be it personal or professional. By sharing your stories and experiences on this platform, not only will you find your voice, you will inspire other women to find their voice too. Through these personal stories, which are unfiltered, uncensored, and straight from the heart, you will be able to empower other women, and with this strong force of empowerment, magical things happen. And that's what we hope to create on this show. My goal is to empower you, you empower me, and together we empower women everywhere. Marilyn Monroe said, if you give a girl the right pair of shoes, she can conquer the world. I believe that if you give a woman a voice, she will conquer anything and everything. Remember, every girl and woman's voice can be the change and the revolution for change in this world. So if you know women or a woman that has something to share, then please contact me. My information is on the screen and I'd love to have them on the show. Let our voices be that revolution for change. After all, a woman has within her the power to create, to nurture, and transform. Enjoy the show. Today's show, we're going to focus on effective strategies of communication between generations. I'm a strong believer that communication is the oxygen of relationships, whether it's between parents and parents, your siblings, your family members, your spouses, your friends, or even strangers that you meet every day. It's all about not what you say, but how you say it. From Generation Z to baby boomers, it is very important to understand each generation's communication style, which can enable people to communicate effectively across generations. Baby boomers grew up in a time of rotary phones. Remember the old phones? Well, you probably won't, but I do, because that's what I used to use. While the millennials had their own cell phones by the time they were teenagers. Baby boomers prefer face-to-face communication. That's me as well. While the Generation X prefers to speak via phone or text. Today, our guests, Ganesh and Aparna Basker from Banyan Way, which is a matchmaking service, are going to talk about the challenges that the parents are facing with speaking with their children, and they're going to give us some effective strategies. So let's begin the show and let's get some ideas of how to effectively communicate not only with our children, but with others. Enjoy the show. Our first guest, Ganesh, comes from a family of educators and is a lifelong learner. She's been part of Banyan Way since 2017, and she enjoys talking to parents and singles every day. Making connections are the best part of her day, and she enjoys learning something new every time, whether it is polishing up her knowledge of the millennial vocabulary or exploring new technology. She actively seeks out opportunities to widen her horizons, and her interests include supporting women entrepreneurs and hiking. Anu strongly believes in leaving everything a little better than she found it, and she applies that motto to her work every day. Our second guest is Aparna Basker. Aparna's fondest memories are growing up in a big family with her grandparents and having extended family nearby. The sense of community in India was something she missed in the United States, and she founded Banyan Way as a means to provide a platform for Indians living in the US. She's an engineer by education who pursued IT as a career and finally realized her dream of becoming an entrepreneur. Aparna is a self-proclaimed board games buff and a passionate travel planner as well. She's a trained Bharatanatyam dancer and enjoys listening to 90s music in her spare time. She has lived in Atlanta for over 2 decades and is active in local community activities. Well, ladies, welcome to the show. Welcome, Anu. Welcome, Aparna. Welcome to Candid Conversations with Rennu.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
No problems. Let me see here. Anu, where are you sitting? Which state are you in?
I live in Georgia and Aparna too.
Okay, Georgia, come a little closer because your mic's a little low. Yeah. And Aparna, where about you're in Atlanta?
Yeah, both of us are in the suburbs of Atlanta. We are in Alpharetta.
And how do you both know each other?
Through a friend of friend, so we became, we were introduced by a mutual friend, and then we became friends, and we've been working together for over 4 years now.
Oh, wonderful. So before we get into the whole topic of, strategies and conversations of how, parents can talk to their children, let's first talk about Banyan Way. I'm curious about the name and what is Banyan Way?
So when we wanted to start a company which will serve for singles raised in the US, primarily raised in the US, to help them find a potential partner, we wanted to find a name which has which is meaningful. And in a banyan tree lives for several hundred years, more than 300, 400 years. And we wanted to build strong and long-lasting relationships. So that's why we named it Banyan Way.
Oh, interesting. That's good. That's good to know. And then you both are now basically matchmakers, personalized matchmakers, right?
That's one of the services that we offer as a company. Apart from that, we use technology, we use speed dating events or virtual events. So it's a holistic approach to how can we help the singles. So,
and you're catering only to the South Asian community?
That's right.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. So let's talk about these strategies for communication. Kamal and myself do matchmaking as a community service, and we also see a huge difference in the communication when we get parents and they'll come on and tell us what they're looking for. When the son or daughter come on, their requirement list is completely different, and clearly there's some lack of communication going on. And you talk about the banyan tree and creating long-lasting relationships. I also feel that nowadays marriages are not lasting that long because of this lack of communication. So let's talk about what communication strategies are you suggesting that people can improve on?
I think, first thing, when parents feel that their son or daughter should get married, first thing is you have to really find out whether he or she is ready. That's the first rule. So, we may think we are ready and it's the right time because he's 28 or she's 26, so whatever the age could be. So
come
we
closer
cannot
to your
decide.
mic. Come closer to your mic, Anu. Yes, yeah.
Okay. So we cannot decide when they are ready. So we have to talk to them, communicate with them, find out where they are, what are their priorities right now, do they have any goals they want to achieve before looking. So basically meeting them where they are. That's the first rule, so without any assumptions. So I think that is number one thing to do. And secondly, ask them, talk to them and find out what they're looking for. Okay, now you know that they're ready. So what are they looking for in a potential partner? Have they found someone on their own? Or do they need help at all? If some of them find someone in college or maybe in school, whatever. So, but in cases where, dating was a taboo subject at home and they finish school and you ask them, so have you met someone? So it's really hard for them, so ask them, do they need any help at all? If they do, then we have to figure out ways how we can help them. We have to help them in a way such that they still have, their say and they feel like they can take the lead in it, without being too intrusive.
But do you find that many times the children are on another wavelength of what they're looking for and the parents are on another wavelength of what they're looking for?
I think it's always the case most of the time. But I think parents are also realizing that their expectations are going to be different from their children's expectations. They are trying to understand. And I can see a lot of change between how 25, 30 years ago, how our parents perceived, how much importance they gave to our interests and hobbies and whatever our priorities were compared to this generation of parents who are trying to listen to their children, and they are trying to be just a consultant or a friend or a person who can help in this partner search. They are not trusting all their criteria upon their children. So it's a middle point, right? Midpoint. They're trying to meet middle way.
Absolutely. And I mean, I'm still all for the arranged introduction. I don't like to use the word arranged marriage. I don't think anyone wants to hear the word marriage anymore. But I think in terms of arranged introduction, I always give an example that it's like when you're looking for a job, just say, give me a personal introduction to somebody and I can bypass all the intermediate people and go right to the top, right? But I still find that a lot of this generation still feel, oh my God, matchmaking, why do I need to do that when I have so many choices swiping on these apps? So what are your thoughts about that? I mean, how do you convince somebody in their 20s to want to come to a personalized service versus using an app when they can, and I was saying earlier, swipe left and right and you get multiple choices?
They can use the app, right? So when they are in their early 20s, they are going to start using the app, and they will be hopping from one app to the other, trying to find someone, and they might find someone at 20 or 25. And that journey can be quite exhausting because they are looking for someone, and they're not able to find the right one. And if you keep comparing the people, there will always be some qualities better in other persons. So if you find someone with all the qualities you are looking for, or majority of the qualities you're looking for, then you should stop again searching for somebody else. And multitasking might work well in the regular life, but dating multiple people is a difficult thing because you tend to compare two people or three people, and it's very difficult to narrow down on one. So that is the challenge. But after that, they realize that usually in their upper 20s, that's when they get more serious. They want to find a long-term relationship, and they're running out of time. They are mingling with the same set of people. They want the opportunity to meet someone of similar cultural background goes down significantly. They're going to work. They are meeting the same set of friends. So they want to be able to meet new people. That is when they start thinking about, can I come for a virtual dating event, or can I go for a holy event or something else. They want to consciously socialize and see whether that opens up some opportunities. And I think when they get even more serious, maybe in their 28 or 30 years, that's when they're like, I don't mind taking help now. I don't have my career-wise, I'm very busy, and I have specific requirements. I want to find someone in this location or this time zone or this region, and I want this profession. All of that, if somebody is able to handhold and help you, they are willing to take that. So that's a journey. It's never like one step where a 20-year-old says, oh, I want a personalized service.
So one of my questions is, I mean, talking to people all the time, I'm noticing that there's more women approaching these services than men. Where have all the men disappeared to? And I get calls all the time, even in our Building Women Empowered group. People ask me, the women who are single, who are looking to settle down maybe second time round, tell me, where are these men? So Anu, where are these men? Where are they gone?
Oh, yeah, I think that's a common thing, everyone in the matchmaking industry faces that, you see more women approach us. So that could be different reasons. Obviously, there are men out there, but maybe it's still culturally, maybe they feel hesitant to actually seek out a service to help them in this. It could be, it was different when parents were involved, but then for guy, he still, culturally, I don't know, he may not think it's totally acceptable, or he may feel embarrassed. And we also notice, men who are a little older, they may not come, put themselves out there. They feel, they're in a certain position career-wise, even, to encourage them to come to our events. It's harder because, they may have kids by that age, and, they feel hesitant. But yes, where are those men is a common thing, we hear, but I'm sure it cannot be so skewed. I'm sure they're out there. We just have to find them.
Right. I was expecting a shortage of women, considering everybody wants to have sons, right? So, so what do you think some of the challenges are that the first generation Indian American children are facing when they're communicating with their parents? What are your thoughts about that?
I think, the biggest challenge is, of course, each generation has grown up in a different environment. We come from an environment where if parents say something, we may or we may not agree, but we will at least listen to them because they're our parents. The younger generation, they're encouraged to question, they're encouraged to, think and ponder on why something is the way it is. So it's a little hard for the parents. So we think are they disrespecting us because they're talking back, in quotes, but they are just expressing their opinion. So we need to understand that, we bring them up in a different environment, but we expect them to react the same way. So that is one challenge. And also expecting that just we have moved here, but I'm going to bring them up as Indian as I can, and I'm going to replicate India here. It's still not going to do it, because he or she is spending more than half the day outside the home. So there are other influences, school, their peers, where they work, who they meet, and also where they grew up, which region is it in a place like California, which has a lot of Indians, or did they grow up in a small town? So there is such a different range, and how they are. So in terms of communication, there are some things like relationships and dating. All this may not be discussed openly, and then finally when they finish school, when we feel they're ready, we just suddenly bring up the topic. So there has been no foundation built on that, so it has to be gradual. So you have to be talking to them from their teens or younger, and so that we can bring up this topic later.
Absolutely. My next question is to you, Aparna. What are the different factors that determine how Indian or how American they turn out to be? Or do we still have these ABCDs, American born confused daisies? That was the term that was being used when I came into this country.
I feel that ABCD still holds good, but not confused, but clear daisies. They are torn between two cultures, but that does not mean that they are confused. It's just that they want to have a right balance of both cultures. They are exposed to two cultures, and it is unfair on our part to expect them to be completely Indian if we have moved away from from India, and we are living here for the past 20-30 years, and we are not the same. We are not the same. So we have changed. So our children who are born and brought up here will be definitely different, and they'll be influenced by the other culture. But they're trying to balance both cultures, and I feel that I definitely don't feel that they are confused for sure.
And sometimes I think actually India has progressed a little bit more than us. People are dating a lot more openly over there, and the ideas even of live-in relationships is far more than here. I think here we're trying to be a little overprotective because we worry about losing our kids. Mm-hmm. And I agree with you. When you come to this country and you're living here, you have to, I mean, they say when you live in Rome, do as the Romans. You don't have to do exactly what everybody's doing, but I think it's important to give your children, you brought them into this country, they're going to adapt to the American lifestyle. So dating, I think, is a very important aspect. And stopping, and also having double standards. The girl can't date, but the guy can date. I mean, I think that also needs to go.
Very true.
So from a parent's point of view, what are some of the most common expectations you've heard of being expressed regarding their children? Is it still, you're a doctor, you must marry a doctor, that's it?
We do see that a lot, but I think children are pushing back, and they are expressing their interest, and they are not they're firm about it, right? They are not fighting over it, but they're firm about it, and they are very clear that they might be looking for a doctor too, but they don't want to be influenced just because the parents want a doctor. They don't want to say yes to it. They are clear about it. They want to find a balance, and it's also a journey. A person who might be looking at only certain age group and height and those type of things when they are at their 25 will change their criteria when they are 30, and change it completely when they are 35. So it is a journey, and it evolves.
Absolutely. I was one of those moms, so that's why I give that example. I still remember when my daughter wanted to go on one of the websites, and I said, no. I had this thing about engineers just being very boring with no personality. So I told her no engineers. And then, of course, all these doctors and dentists were there, and they were all just as boring. And then she said to me one day, she says, Mom, can we just, uncheck this box of doctors and try something else? And we were giving up on one of these online portals, won't take names, we were giving up, and I was quite disappointed. And then we added engineer, and within 5 seconds, his profile comes in, ends up becoming my son-in-law. So, yeah, so it was actually quite, she looked at me and she says, I told you so. And I was like, yeah, I guess you're right, But she says, you can't be so judgmental. And I think that's a very important thing that we tend to do. We tend to just be judgmental and categorize everybody as the same. And I think we need to back off on that a little bit. So
We have seen many examples for that. Sorry to interrupt you.
no.
We have seen so many examples where if they are more open about finding a potential partner, they're not putting so many filters, they can get really lucky, or things can work out. We never know. Like we have seen examples where the girl was born and brought up here and the boy was raised in India, and the girl was not at all open to that, but she met through one of the dating events, and she liked, and they're married now. So things that do work out that way magically.
Do you feel, I mean, I kind of feel sometimes that this generation puts too much focus on looks and photographs. They always don't look at pictures. And I always tell them that, sometimes people look better in real life than in photographs. And now you have Zoom. You don't even have to fly across the city. You just meet on Zoom. What are your thoughts about how do you convince, the parent is totally like, oh, yes, this meets all the criteria, but the child looks at the photograph and says, no way, Jose, not this one.
I know, how do you handle that?
Yeah, so if they were our, personalized service client, so what we tell our clients is, photos are great, it gives a first, look into the person, but, we definitely encourage them at least, phone call. Then, we have technology now, a video call, because it's only in a video call you can see the person's, body language. How did they react? How is their eye contact? Is he looking at you and or you doing something else? Is he focusing on you? So we encourage that, and the more the technology is, I think we should rely less on just photographs. I mean, why not use what's out there? But when you say that about singles, sometimes parents, may fall to that too, because they of the generation where photos were really important. Someone in our generation, if they're going to get married, I'm sure the parents would have taken them to a photo studio, get some photos done. So it was very important. Yeah. So they're used to that. So
Right.
that is when we have to encourage them. This generation is not used to just picking up the phone and making a call. It's just, if someone just calls you out of the blue, they're like, is everything okay?
Right.
So that's
it's funny.
is gone.
It reminds me of a story when I was doing matchmaking many years ago. I had a client that sent in their profile, and all they wrote was their age and their name, and they were a doctor in Chicago. I'll never forget this. And the age was, when I did the math, he was 83. And I thought he'd made a mistake. So I called him up and I said, I think you've reversed your digits or something. And he goes, no, this is for me. And I said, you're 83 and you're looking to get married? And he goes, yeah. And he said, I said, you didn't give me anything on the profile. He just wrote, wants somebody to play golf and must be very beautiful. So I said, okay, can I see your picture? When he sent me his picture, I was like, oh my gosh, how am I going to present this gentleman? I was only in my 20s at the time when I was doing matchmaking. And then it was so funny. I got a profile of another client, beautiful lady, 81, played golf, and but she was really pretty. And I thought to myself, how do I introduce them? Because I just don't think this is going to be a match physically. So I still remember I lied to both of them and told them I didn't have their photographs. And they ended up meeting. And I was so scared that the lady was going to call me and say, what is wrong with you? They ended up getting married. And that's when I realized, I am in no place to make judgment about photographs, or that's such a shallow thing to do, to say, oh, this person doesn't look good with so-and-so. So I always try and use that example. What advice do you have to give to parents of children raised in the US when it comes to communicating with their kids? What are the biggest things I hear? And I mean, I'm in the preschool business and I see it even now, how parents communicate with their children. You're telling a 3-year-old, focus. 3-year-old doesn't even know the word focus, but it's just our culture to start being that helicopter parent. And we never want to stop, helicoptering them for the rest of their life. What is your message to parents?
You have one, Anu. You keep talking to parents all the time.
I hope they're listening to the show.
Oh, yes, we'll make sure. So I think, the biggest advice we can give parents who are raising kids here is, understand that it's hard to be where they are. So we did not have to navigate two cultures growing up. They have to do that right from the beginning. They're always trying to figure out where they fit in. Either sometimes it's like a pendulum. They go really Indian or they go really, and they're always, trying to navigate that. So first thing, realize that it's hard. Sometimes they would tell us, when they're mad or something, you didn't grow up here, you never went to high school, you don't know how it is. It is true, we don't know how it is. But that being said, that doesn't mean we cannot empathize with them or we cannot understand. Every generation has similar challenges, whether it's dating or friendship problems, peer pressure. We have had it in our generation. Only thing, the main thing we didn't have was social media, of course. But other than that, we had all the same things. So I think meeting them where they are, and then also realizing that it is not up to us. I might think that I'm bringing up my son or daughter really Indian, but they may end up more westernized than I expect. So there's only so much in a parent's control. There's always outside influence. So we should not be hard on ourselves, thinking that it's my fault or I should have done better. You did the best you could.
Right. And I also believe that, as a parent, I mean, it's like you mentioned, you do the best, but we are basically a vehicle for life. You can't control that life. They're entitled to live life on their own terms,
True.
And I think that's so important, because when you do make a choice and it's a wrong choice, then you can't, it's very difficult, So I always tell people that if it ends up becoming the wrong choice, what are you going to say to your child? So let it be their decision. Others are going to look at you and say, well, now what do you have to say? This was the wrong choice. So having been there, I know it. So Aparna, what are your thoughts on that?
I feel the same. Parents are trying to communicate. Compared to their parents, or when compared to my parents, I do a better job, is what I feel. But it's still a long way to go, because our children have a different, baseline. So they expect us to be even more open and respect their boundaries, and they want us to treat them as an individual and not be overprotective or be completely intrusive when it comes to, especially they are adult children, even though they are our children. So they are adults, so they want us to give them the space and room and trust them in terms of them being able to make decisions. And I actually feel I feel that the children who are grown up here, they do want to make sure that they respect us. So we need to make sure that we also respect their thoughts and opinions and interests, right? So they don't want to run away and elope or find someone and not talk to us. So all those drama that we would hear back in India, I have never heard in these 4 years. They would come and talk. They'll be forthright. They might fight, but they'll convince the parents and then get married. But I've not seen an instance where they just go away and get married, or they don't want to have anything to do with the children or part with the family. None of that happens, because they really they know that parents have struggled a lot. They have moved, they have left all their friends and family back in India, and they have moved here for a better life for their children. So they do feel indebted for that reason, and we have to really respect that and give them the space.
And I also feel, when we talk to the younger generation, and they always say, well, why do I need a personalized matchmaking service when I'm able to, use an app? My answer to that always is, on an app, it's a lot of people write a lot of things that are not true. I've learned new terms of like ghosting and catfish,
Mm-hmm.
But I think one of the important things is that, at least with parents and matchmakers, you look at the important things such as family. And what happens is, when you meet somebody on the internet and you fall in love madly, you kind of overlook and you say, well, I'm going to be able to handle the fact that, he's like this. I know I'm going to change him. We come in with this perspective that we think we're going to change. And as women, we think we're going to nurture and change everybody, right? So I always say, if you look at your matchmaking service or your matchmaker as that person, that auntie, that's going to look at the best of both worlds and make sure at least the family is a match. And I always say, you maybe initially fall in love, but then the other bit is family marrying family. And when you don't have that happening at the end, eventually, even when that love goes past the 6 months of honeymoon phase, it becomes family at the end. So
if they have genuinely found someone who's if they love that person and if they like them, and they have to convince their parents, if they don't meet the criteria that parents have, then they have to convince. But in most cases, I think they are very well educated. They have their, they are extremely successful in their career. They are responsible, and that's the culture that we have, given them. So we have to trust that our, upbringing.
Right, absolutely, and give them the opportunity to make their own decisions. Yeah. So, so in closing, tell us a little bit about Banyan Way, and if anyone's interested, how they can contact you. And is there any specific age group you work with? Is it only for South Asians? If you could share a little bit.
Yeah, so we cater to anybody of Indian origin living in the US. And the age group ranges from 23, 24 upwards. And we don't have an upper bound, but typically it's between 25 to 40, early 40s will be the primary age group. And we have an app. If singles want to find a potential partner on their own, they can download an app and use it. If they want to attend our virtual speed dating events, they can come online at the comfort of the home. They can meet new people, and it's a safe environment. And our platform is only for people who are looking for long-term serious relationship. It's not a Tinder. So that is one thing we try to, pass on that message through our marketing channels. And of course, if you want some more help, we can always use our personalized service.
Perfect. You talk about Tinder. I hope everyone's seen that movie, Tinder Swindler. That was a real eye-opener. Yeah, a real eye-opener. But my message, on that one, I don't even hold him responsible for what he does, because in my opinion, it's the women that were, who starts giving money out to somebody you barely know and who barely comes to visit you? It's just logical, right? So, to use your head a little bit. But Anu, what about you? What would you like to say in closing?
What I'd like to say in closing is, I think, finding a partner is one of the most important decisions in our lives, if not the most. So I think that, if we find someone, spontaneously on our own, organically, that's great. But if not, I think, we can rely on people we care about, who care about us to, help us in the process. So we need not, it's just like, like you said, the example of looking for a job, maybe you reach out to a recruiter, because he or she has more contacts than you do. He can reach out to more people than you can as a person.
Right.
So think of it as just, widening your, your search, and not take, feel too bad that, oh, maybe I'm not good enough, that's why I need it. No, it just means that, you're delegating that part, you're delegating that part for someone else to help you in the process. So don't feel any embarrassment. So the end result is, we want everyone to find a long-term companion who they're happy with. And if we can be a part of that, nothing like it.
Absolutely, yes. And for those who are listening in, I always give this example that if you're going to use an app and you're going to get hundreds of choices, you swipe left and right, but how many real good matches do you get? And you pay for what you get. So if you're going to come to a private matchmaker, then be prepared for paying their price and their fee, because you are consulting with them. So it's the same difference as Anu just explained, going to a recruiter who's going to find you a job and charge you a commission for finding the job, versus sitting on a resume and going through, a job website and going through thousands of jobs and hoping that somebody will call you. But it's been a pleasure having you ladies on the show. Really interesting conversation. I'm glad we're all on the same page. I'm sure Kamal will watch the show and find out that we're all going through the same thing. And if any men are listening to this show, we want to know where you are, because we have some amazing women in the database that you need to connect and meet. So, but thank you, ladies, and I really wish you the very best of luck in your business. It's a very gratifying business because people will come back, and when they have their kids, they'll come back, and maybe some of them will name their kids after you. You never know.
Like Aparna says, if we are successful, we're literally creating the next generation. So
absolutely, yeah,
it's a lot of responsibility.
And I tell people, if you can meet them in college, great. But I start suggesting that you meet in preschool now. Connect in preschool when you're 3 and 4 years old, and look them up and follow them on social media.
Rennu catches them early.
Stop them early. But thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. Likewise. Thanks, Rennu.
I hope you enjoyed the show, and I hope you got some really good, effective strategies of how you can communicate not only with your children, but with other people. It's not just about finding your spouse or about how to communicate with possible life partners, but communication, as I mentioned earlier, is the oxygen of relationships. So whatever you do, effective communication strategies is critical. And I always say that children will model their parents. So whatever you do, how you speak to your kids is going to be the result of how they're going to speak to not only you, but others. On that note, have a great week and see you at the next show.